Welcome to Quick Course Digest. Today, we're going to dive deep into the essential principles of management. We'll give you the core concepts you absolutely need to lead and succeed, no matter what organization you're in. Ready? Let's get started.
So, let's start with the big one, right? How do you manage in a world that's, well, constantly changing? How do you build organizations that don't just survive, but actually thrive? The answer, it turns out, lies in mastering a few core principles.
All right, first things first. A great manager has to be a great strategist. Before you can make any move, you've got to understand the playing field. That means looking outside your own four walls to really get a handle on the complex and often unpredictable world you're operating in.
You see, every single organization is being shaped by these huge external forces. Globalization, for instance, has created this massive integrated economy, which means huge opportunities, but also, some really intense competition. Then there's technology, which is just constantly rewriting the rules of the game. And don't forget sociocultural shifts. What your employees and customers value is changing all the time. On top of all that, you've got massive new risks from things like climate change.
Okay, so how on earth do you make sense of all that? Well, this matrix here is a brilliant tool. Let's take a local coffee shop. Its world is pretty simple and stable, right? So it fits right in that top left box, low uncertainty. But now, picture a huge multinational tech company. Its environment is incredibly complex, always changing. That puts it square in the bottom right. By figuring out where your organization lands on this chart, you get a real sense of the uncertainty you're up against.
Okay, so you've mapped out the terrain. Now what? Well, now it's time to build your vehicle, your organization. The big question is, how do you design it to be perfectly suited to win in that environment? And this is all about two things: structure and culture.
Let's break down the two main ways to think about organizational structure. On one hand, you have the mechanistic structure. Think of it like a perfectly oiled machine, a clear hierarchy, everybody has their specialized job. It's super efficient and it's perfect for a stable world, like a car factory. On the other hand, you've got the organic structure. This is more like a living thing, Decision-making is spread out, roles are more fluid. It's all about speed and adapting on the fly, which makes it ideal for a chaotic environment, like a tech startup.
But, it's not just about the org chart. You also have the organization's personality, its culture. This framework here gives us four main types. A clan culture? That's like a family, really collaborative and focused on its people. An adhocracy is all about innovation, taking risks and pushing boundaries. A hierarchy is what you'd expect, structured, process-driven, kind of like a well-run government agency that values stability above all. And finally, a market culture is hyper-competitive, laser-focused on results, and absolutely obsessed with winning.
And you've probably heard this one before, but it's so true. Peter Drucker's famous quote, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." It just nails it, doesn't it? You can have the most brilliant strategy in the world, but if your culture doesn't support it, it's just useless. Culture is basically the soil, and your ideas are the seeds. If the soil isn't right, nothing's going to grow.
Let's look at a real-world heavyweight, Amazon. It's a fascinating case because it's got this mixed culture. On one side, you've got that innovative, risk-taking, adhocracy culture. That's how we got Amazon Web Services, right? But then you look at their warehouses, their fulfillment centers, and that's a whole different story. That's a super rigid, process-driven hierarchy culture, built for maximum efficiency. The real genius of Amazon is how they manage to juggle these two totally different cultures at the same time, using the right one for the right part of the business.
All right, so you've built this amazing organization. You're crushing it in your home market. But are you ready for the next level? Are you ready to go global? Because this is where things get really, really interesting.
There's a pretty common path that companies follow when they decide to expand globally. Let's think about a company like Starbucks. They probably started by just exporting their coffee beans. Simple enough. Then they moved on to licensing and franchising, letting local partners open up shops. After that, maybe they formed some strategic alliances, say with PepsiCo, to get their bottled drinks into stores everywhere. And finally, the biggest step, foreign direct investment, where they're actually building or buying their own facilities in other countries. You see how each step is a bigger commitment, more investment, but also way more control.
This is wild, right? Did you know that in some cultures, making eye contact with your boss is seen as super rude? But in others, if you don't do it, it's a sign of disrespect. Trying to navigate these little cultural landmines is one of the toughest parts of managing a global team. And that's exactly where Hofstede's cultural dimensions model comes in. It's an incredible tool for making sense of these deep-seated cultural differences.
Okay, let's look at a couple of these dimensions. Take power distance.
This basically measures how much a society is okay with inequality. In the US, it's pretty low. Employees expect to be able to speak their minds, to challenge their boss. But in Mexico, the score is much higher. Employees there generally expect the boss to be a strong, decisive leader who calls the shots. So imagine a US manager trying to be super collaborative in Mexico. They might just come across as weak or indecisive. See how that works?
And this is why local knowledge is an absolute superpower. Look at Domino's. They succeeded globally because they trusted local experts. For instance, in Japan, they figured out that customers loved toppings like seafood and corn, things you wouldn't normally think of. So they created a whole new menu just for them. I mean, there's no way you get that kind of insight from a focus group in Michigan. You have to be there, on the ground, actually listening.
So we've covered a lot, right? Understanding the environment, designing your organization, competing on a global stage. But what's the one skill that holds it all together? It's the ability to master change. Seriously, in a world that is always evolving, being able to adapt isn't just an advantage, it's the ultimate competitive advantage.
When it comes to actually managing a planned change, Lewin's model is a total classic, and for good reason. It's simple. Think of it like remodeling your kitchen. First, you have to unfreeze. You pack up all the old plates, you get ready for the mess and the disruption. Then comes the change itself. You bring in the new cabinets, the new appliances, and finally, and this part is crucial, you have to refreeze. You put everything in its new home, you get used to the new layout, and you make it permanent.
But here's the thing. Real lasting change isn't just about moving stuff around or changing a process. It's about people. And your greatest asset for adaptation, for innovation, is diversity. A diversity of thought, of experience, of perspective. That's the secret ingredient.
And look, the numbers totally back this up. A huge study by McKinsey found that companies with the most gender diversity on their executive teams were 21% more likely to have above-average profits than the companies at the bottom. So diversity isn't just some nice-to-have, right thing to do. It's the smart thing to do.
And it's not just about the money either. It's about creating a place where people genuinely want to work. Check this out. Studies from Great Place to Work show that when employees feel truly included, they are over 6 times more likely to be proud of the work they do. I mean, that's a massive driver of engagement and loyalty.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Is your organization built just to react? Is it a dinosaur just waiting for the next asteroid to hit? Or is it designed to evolve? Is it more like a chameleon, constantly adapting to whatever the world throws at it? Because in a world of constant change, that choice is everything.